Today we're going to look at a number of chapters 18 through 21, because there's just a lot of stuff here, a variety of situations that needed some instruction to the people of Israel. Just in brief, for the most part, there was, first of all, in chapters 18, 1 through 8, we have provisions for the Levites. Remember, the Levites were the priestly tribe, the tribe that handled all the worship aspects. The descendants of Aaron would actually be the priest. The rest of the Levites from the descendants of Levi would be helpers in various capacities, and so they needed provision and needed things to take care of them, and the Lord worked that out. Chapter 18, verses 9 to 14 is Spiritism is forbidden. They were not to try to bring up the spirits. They were not trying to touch the spirit world in one form or the other. Any form of medium or spiritist was rejected by the Lord. And early on, this was part of the law. Then we come to verses 15 to 19, and we have the prophets that predict the coming of there's a prophecy of the prediction of a coming of a prophet like Moses. This is an important verse because it says in verse 15, the Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among you, from your countrymen, and you will listen to him. Now, it doesn't seem like we know who this is talking about at first. It seems like maybe it's Joshua. But when we come to the book of Acts, in chapter 3, verse 22, Moses is quoted. And Moses said, it said here, the Lord God will raise up for you a prophet like me from your brethren. To him you shall give heed to everything he says to you. And this was a reference to Christ. And so the prophet that Moses was prophesying about would be the Messiah, Jesus Christ, who would come as a prophet like Moses, but much more than a prophet. He would be the true Son of God, the Messiah of the people. But the prophet that is being prophesied about here is one like Moses, but one far superior to Moses. Then he begins in verse 20 to talk about the false prophets. Remember back in chapter 13, there was a discussion there about prophets who would show up, give a prophecy, give a dream, and they would claim, want people to follow them, but they were deceiving the people, trying to get them to follow false gods. Now, this is a different wrinkle of the whole situation. Here is a false prophet who is doing something different. Look at verse 20. But the prophet who speaks a word presumptuously in my name, which I've not commanded him to speak, or which he speaks in the name of other gods, that prophet shall die. You may say in your heart, how shall we know the word which this Lord has not spoken? How are we going to know if this prophet is of God or not, or his word is true or not? When a prophet speaks in my name, if the thing does not come about or come true, that is the thing which the Lord has not spoken. The prophet has spoken it presumptuously, and you should not be afraid of him. Now we have a prophet here who is not necessarily leading the people away from God, although he could be. And it does not say anything about him doing signs and wonders, like it said in chapter 13. But he's come forth boldly, speaking presumptuously. That is, he is making this up. He's claiming a word from God that God did not give him. And of course, that is going to meet with God's rejection of this prophet. He said, you don't need to be afraid of these people. And you will know it is not true, that he is not a true prophet, because the thing he prophesies about does not come true. And therefore you are to reject him. And we're not talking here about nebulous types of prophecies like we're going to have a hurricane somewhere on the west coast or east coast somewhere in 2025 or 26. That kind of prophecy is ultimately going to come true. But this is a more perfect, obvious, specific prophecy that is being denied and rejected, is being given that does not come true. This man has proven himself to be a false prophet. Ignore him. And then he talks here more about other things as well, just running through quickly. In chapter 19, he once again reminds them of the cities of refuge, 3 on one side of the Jordan, 3 on the other side of the Jordan. And later, more could be added as necessary. In 19:14 through 21, he talks about laws concerning justice. And then in chapter 20, he deals with laws concerning the nations that surround them that have not been destroyed. And then in chapter 21 through 23, he gives all sorts of laws concerning domestic issues, how were they to handle all sorts of different things that come up. And so these chapters, although they're not particularly relevant to us today as far as our lives as Christians, they were very important for the people of Israel, and the Lord gives them regulations and stipulations and instructions to guide them going forward.